those they have a problem with. Trying to apportion blame.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua slumps leaders for exploiting protests, while the Azimio coalition, led by Kalonzo Musyoka, pledges to persist despite the apparent collapse of the alliance. Well, welcome to the program. And the Law Society of Kenya has identified frustrations from various government agencies as a major obstacle to securing justice for those killed and injured during the nationwide Gen Z protest. The LSK also condemned the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP, for claiming to be hindered by a lack of witnesses, accusing the ODPP of eroding public trust in both the institute and the security forces. David Kagina opens our broadcast with that report.
The recent wave of at least 50 deaths and more than 350 injuries triggered by a police crackdown on nationwide protest began with the shooting of 30-year-old Rex Masai. Shot in the thigh, he bled to death. However, the investigation into Rex's killing, which has made him a symbol of police brutality, has yet to lead to a prosecution. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions claims to be hampered by a lack of witnesses willing to come forward and record statements.
The Director of Public Prosecutions cannot throw his hands up and say there's nothing that he cannot do. The reason why he does not have those statements is because they have not facilitated an environment that people can actually report.
But ushahidi ni gani tunataka saizi? Footage ziko pale town. Mpaka venye polisi alikuwa anashoot mpaka venye Rex pale alilemewa. Kuna ushahidi ngine gani tunaweza taka?
A climate of abductions and arbitrary arrest is said to have intimidated potential witnesses crucial for bringing charges.
Kuna huyu kijana alinipigia simu, anaitwa George. Anaogopa kutoa inaitwa ushahidi kulingana na venye kuko sahi. Unaenda unatoa ushahidi unakuwa abducted. So mamake amemwambia asimpate akitoa hizo ushahidi. Sasa inakuwa ni kama mimi nitaforce mtoto wenyewe alafu akipata shida itakuwa ni mimi.
People fear that the moment they are called they'll be identified, or if they go and report they'll be identified, and thereafter they may end up disappearing.
On the night Rex was killed, his mother says the doctor who pronounced him dead confirmed a bullet lodged in his thigh with a visible entry wound but no exit wound. Following the autopsy, the family and friends were shocked to discover the bullet was missing from his body. They suspect it was removed.
Ati unajua mtu akishutiwa inapita nyuma inatokea mbele, hiyo ni kaili anguka kwa street. Aje na kijana wangu mwenye anamfuata alirudi mpaka hiyo spot alishutiwa, akaokota miwani zake na wallet yake hapo. Tukaambia na kwani ule daktari wa Bliss alikuwa mjinga, akafinya mpaka tukaona kitu sharp imejichora, akatuambia hiyo hamkuona kitu, maybe hiyo ni blood clot.
Then they need to tell us who did they give access to, that now that bullet actually disappeared, because it's only through those concerted efforts that we can be able to ensure that there's justice for these families.
Rex's case is emblematic of many other victims. The Law Society of Kenya admits facing frustrations from government agencies in documenting atrocities and human rights violations, diminishing hope for justice for victims.
Tukiwauliza maswali ama tukiwaandikia barua ama tukiweka msisitizo kwamba watusaidie na jambo moja ama lingine, huwa kwa upande mwingi hawatusaidii. Kwa hivyo kama ni upande wa IPOA wanatusaidia, lakini upande wa polisi hawatusaidii. Kwa hivyo changamoto kubwa kwetu sisi ni ule usaidizi uliokosekana katika idara ya polisi na idara zingine za serikali ambazo tungependa watusaidie na jambo moja ama lingine ambalo lingetusaidia kutamatisha ripoti yetu kuhusiana na mambo ambayo yametokea.
Addressing a youth engagement on rights and justice, LSK leadership criticized the ODPP's claims of helplessness, arguing the office holds responsibility for restoring eroded public trust, including through programs like witness protection.
Most of these families, apart from those who even have lost their loved ones, some who have been injured, are still struggling. We're seeing people holding harambes to bury their dead. We're seeing people holding harambes to be able to treat their loved ones that were injured.
Despite these assurances, victims, their friends and families cling to the fading hope of eventual justice. David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
And 5 activists, including Boniface Mwangi, have been released on a 20,000 shillings cash bail each after being arraigned in court following their arrest during yesterday's march to honor protest victims. Ian K24 has the details.
After spending a cold night in police cells, the 5 activists, Boniface Mwangi, Robert Otieno, Albert Wambugu, Pablo Chacha and Irot Franker have been released. They were arrested during a march dedicated to victims of the anti-government demonstrations, which was disrupted by police. The activists face charges including incitement, unlawful assembly, and false publication under the Cybercrimes Act. In a miscellaneous application, the prosecution led by Judy Korach had requested a 21-day detention at Central Police Station to complete their investigation. However, Chief Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe dismissed the application, noting that it didn't hold any water, leading to the activists' release on 20,000 bail each.
There are 2 crimes that the applicant is investigating, which can be classified as misdemeanors. So the seriousness of the offense being investigated is a relevant issue. All offenses being bailable under our constitution, then more so misdemeanors. It has not been disclosed what he intends to do with the respondents for 21 days.
During the confrontation at the Central Business District, Boniface Mwangi was arrested alongside Evans Kirati's aunt, who was seeking justice for her fallen nephew. She was, however, released earlier today. Kiratu was hit by a tear gas canister during the first wave of demonstrations and later succumbed to his injuries, his mother vowing not to tire in seeking justice for her son.
Alichukuliwa na a good Samaritan mwenye amekuwa na sisi hadi wa leo na mwenye alisimama na yeye hadi dakika ya mwisho na amekuwa witness na ameandika na IPOA, so we are somehow confused.
On Wednesday, President Ruto hinted at government compensation for those who lost their lives during the protests. Kiratu's mother had this to say.
Hakuna any governmental person mwenye amenicall ama akacall any family member kuhusu hii yote ilitendeka. Sisi kama wamama ndio tumelea watoto. Tunawaomba muache kutumia nguvu mingi.
Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owina condemned the brutality meted on protesters, with LSK President Faith Odhiambo, who has been advocating for justice, lauding the role played by the youth through digital platforms.
DCI should not arrest and investigate. The DCI should investigate first and then make arrest. And I ask members of the public to still come out and fight for the rights of these accused persons.
Digital media is free and uncontrolled. There are no gatekeepers to filter or censor. This means citizens can speak their minds freely, share their thoughts and ideas without fear of repression.
Ian K24, K24.
And still on issues surrounding the Gen Z protest, ODM leaders are sustaining the push for justice and compensation for families who lost their loved ones during the Gen Z demonstrations, and the government to plan a requiem mass and declare a national mourning day to honor the fallen heroes. Mombasa Governor Abdulswamad Nasir, who shared the podium with the President William Ruto today, made calls for the promise made by the government to be actualized and also insisted on the demands by the ODM party to be met as a show of goodwill as the country is having a conversation of national unity. Joel Chacha has more.
Speaking during President William Ruto's tour of the coastal region, Mombasa Governor Abdulswamad Nasir, who had the ear of the head of state when sharing the same podium, took the opportunity to push for justice for the fallen heroes who were shot by the police during the Gen Z demonstrations.
Ni lazima wale waloweza kuumia katika msukamano wa maandamano wawe compensated. Wale waloweza kuuliwa na kuumizwa katika maandamano wawe compensated. Ni lazima, Your Excellency, wale polisi walofanya wao ni kichwa kigumu wakawanyima haki za watu wachukuliwa hatua zile ambazo kwamba zinahitajika.
Appearing to remind President Ruto of the demands made by ODM party as a condition for engaging in dialogue, Nasir further called for the immediate unconditional release for all those in police custody.
As we speak, development cannot move without movement of politics. Hawa watu wote, Your Excellency, tunaomba zile kesi za wale walikuwa wameshikwa kiholela kwa sababu wanaandamana. Be true to your word, and I know that you will do it. Drop those cases za wale ambao kwamba walioko pale.
On how much families of those who lost their kin should be compensated, Embakasi East Legislator Babu Owino has proposed at least 11 million Kenya shillings.
Pay to the families who've lost their loved ones 1 million Kenya shillings for funeral expenses they are incurring. Number 2, compensate the bereaved families at 10 million Kenya shillings each for the excruciating pain, agony, and suffering you have put them through. Declare a mourning day and hold a national funeral service mass in honor of the patriots you have killed.
According to the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, at least 60 Kenyans have lost their lives in the wake of youthful protests in the country in push for good governance, while 66 are still missing. Joel Chasha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has slammed political leaders for their alleged role in escalating the recent Gen Z demonstrations, which led to property destruction and loss of life. He accuses these leaders of hijacking the protest to settle political scores and expressed his approval of President William Ruto's broad-based cabinet nominations, calling it a positive step for Kenya. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has fired shots at political leaders he claims contributed to the destruction of property during the month-long Gen Z demonstrations.
Wakati kama huu kumekuwa na mambo ya maandamano, unakuta idiots wako huko ndani. Wao kazi yao ni kupora mali na kuchoma barabara na kuchoma maduka ya watu na kuchoma hata pikipiki. Hao ni hatari sana.
Two very difficult periods. In moderate, I agree with you 100%. That those who took advantage of well-intentioned peaceful protests to loot property, to steal, to maim, to hurt, those are idiots. I agree with you.
Seemingly castigating Laikipia Member of Parliament Mwangi Kiunjuri for his remarks on the formation of a broad-based government, which includes Raila Odinga's allies, Gachagua is accusing these leaders of spearheading propaganda to mislead the public.
They are even more idiots and more idiotic as those who try to take advantage of the whole scenario to settle political scores with those they don't support or those they have a problem with. Trying to apportion blame, trying to say this and that. Those are even more idiotic than those idiots. And I agree with your sermon entirely. Let people know that Kenyans are also very intelligent people. People of this great country have come of age. They see from far, they analyze, and they know. As you speak of any situation, have tremendous respect for the people of Kenya. People are not foolish. There is no shortage of fools in this country. People are fairly intelligent and very analytical. And the ordinary Kenyans are ahead of us leaders. They know many things, and they see.
At the same time, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has called on Kenyans to avoid violence to prevent further property damage.
Kwa hivyo ni loss kubwa sana katika sehemu nyingi. Kwa hivyo letu tu ni kuomba tufate maagizo ambayo yametolewa na askofu wetu leo kwamba tuwe wa Kenya ambao tutakuwa wazalendo. Wale ambao tutajua kwamba ni vizuri hata tukiwa na shida tufate sheria lakini tusilete vurugu.
Regarding the cabinet nominations, Gachagua has praised the inclusivity of the new appointments, seeing them as a win for the country.
All sorts of analysts and newspaper people and commentators commenting about gains and losses. Which region got what, which one lost, which one didn't, who is strong, who is not. I think the whole thing is a win for the people of Kenya. And for us as a region, we are very happy that Mercy adds our numbers. And we are very proud of our performance from a daughter of this region.
And with that, we take our first break here at K24 Evening Edition. I'll see you in a short while. Stay tuned.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, SMS, Twitter, and WhatsApp.
Wapwani mpo, Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na Star Times DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Tumbuika na vipindi kemkem vya kusisimua katika station yetu mpya ya Rainbow TV Plus kuanzia Julai tarehe 1. Rainbow TV Plus, kina cha burudani. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT Star Times decoder. Uenjoy zaidi ya channel 75 local na international. Usiwachwe nyuma. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Ushinde hadi mara 5,000 ya beti yako teke teke. Yes, and it's that simple. Dial star 675 hash. Cheza na 6 numbers kati ya 1 hadi 6. Weka bet amount yako kutoka shilingi 50 tu. Ushinde hadi mara 5,000 instantly. Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Na upate nafasi moja kati ya 4 ya kuwa mshindi. Dial star 675 hash to play now. Over 18 only. Gaming is addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been authorized by the BCLB.
People come to me and they say they get discomfort when they have ice cream. Can you imagine that? Avoiding having cold ice cream. Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Welcome back. And the Azimio coalition led by Kalonzo Musyoka has vowed to preserve, despite the apparent collapse of the alliance, which has repeatedly insisted on its unity in recent weeks. And as Brian Amwai reports, the coalition has condemned the ODM party's decision to join the government, calling it a betrayal of their cause.
Kalonzo Musyoka appears to be the last man standing in a coalition whose lifeline is thinning day in, day out, as his fellow principals have seemingly charted different paths. On Friday, what remains of the Azimio coalition gathered in Nyeri, led by Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa and Jeremiah Kioni. Their message was clear. Despite the latest developments, they are determined to press on. The coalition has now placed its trust in Kalonzo Musyoka to lead the Blue Coalition into the 2027 elections as they aim to unseat the current government.
Sisi kama Azimio tumekaa pamoja na tumekubaliana ya kwamba kwa sababu safari ya siasa tutakuwako, safari ya siasa ya upinzani tutakuwa nayo. Sisi sasa mwenye atakuwa akituongoza kwa hiyo safari itakuwa Kalonzo Musyoka. Steven Kalonzo Musyoka. Yeye ndio kiongozi wetu katika Azimio, mambo ya upinzani yeye ndio kiongozi wetu, yeye ndio atatuambia zile hatua tutapiga kwenda mbele.
Lakini sisi tutaendelea tukiwa na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka akiwa kiongozi wetu na timu yetu ya wanazimio kusimama nanyi wananchi kuendelea kuwatetea. Hatutawaacha. Msifikirie tumewaacha. Tuko pamoja.
Mimi Kalonzo wa Musyoka naweza kuingia serikali aina hiyo? Afadhali kwetu Sekuru pande hii. Niwe na roho safi, because I can't. My conscience will not allow me. For the love of this nation, we will stand. Hata William Ruto anajua Kalonzo atakuwa mpinzani wake. Na tutaanguka nao. Hatuto achilia. Zakayo tutaanguka naye.
The coalition now says it will stand by the people and will not enter into any agreement with the Kenya Kwanza government, with Kalonzo Musyoka vowing to unseat the current regime.
Tutoke hapa tukijua Kalonzo amesema ataanguka na Zakayo. Itaanguka naye. Kwa hiyo kama itaanguka naye, wananisubiri ati niwe Attorney General, sijui niwe nini. Ya nini? Nilikuwa Vice President wa Kibaki. Niteremshe heshima hiyo ya Kibaki, niende kuwa Attorney General. Haiwezekani. Wangapi anasema nisikubali maneno kama hayo.
President William Samoei Ruto, go ahead and fill your cabinet. This team is not interested in being part of your cabinet. So that people, yani tuwasemane ukweli na hapa tuko madhabahu. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is not interested in taking part in your government in any way.
The coalition has criticized the ODM party for its decision to join the government.
Wenzetu ambao wameamua kujiunga na serikali, wao ni uamuzi wao wa kibinafsi, sio uamuzi wa Azimio. Na sisi tumesema mzee wetu Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, yeye anaenda kuania kiti kile cha AU kule Addis Ababa.
Sisi kama watu wa Mount Kenya ametuacha kwa mataa. Saa hii ile ministry, ile wizara mzuri kabisa sasa imechukuliwa na ODM. Wizara ile iko na nguvu sasa imechukuliwa na ODM. Sisi watu wa Mount Kenya ukiangalia ni ministry gani tumepewa, wewe utajiuliza na hiyo inafanyanga nini?
As the Blue Coalition faces internal challenges, its future seems uncertain. Despite its vow to survive until the next election, recent developments suggest otherwise. The Orange Party is aligning itself with the government, while the NARC Kenya Party finds its position in the coalition untenable. These moves leave the coalition fragmented as its key members pursue different paths. Brian Amoai, K24.
Well, and a petition has been filed at the High Court seeking to stop the appointment of opposition-allied leaders into Kenya Kwanza reconstituted cabinet. Julius Ogogo, through Commission for Human Rights and Justice, argues that the appointment of the four into the cabinet violate opposition's constitutional mandate of oversighting the government. Ogogo wants the court to declare nominations of the four null and void. Timothy Simwa reports.
The nomination of former governors Hassan Joho Wycliffe Oparanya, ODM chairperson John Mbadi, and legislator Opiyo Wandayi into President William Ruto's so-called broad-based cabinet has been challenged in court. Human rights activists through the Commission for Human Rights moved to court today to challenge the legality of appointing the ODM and Azimio coalition leaders into the cabinet. At the core of his petition, Julius Ogogo argues that the nominees who belong to the opposition have a constitutional mandate to oversight the government of the day, and the inclusion into the cabinet violates the same constitution. The petition reads in part, and I quote, "Given the fact that the interested parties are members of the official opposition coalition in the National Assembly, has a constitutional duty to oversight the functions of the executive and other arms of government, and the nomination and appointment of the interested parties into the cabinet or government as secretaries shall conflict their constitutional duty." The petitioner wants the court to declare that the nomination of the four interested parties as cabinet secretaries unconstitutional, null and void. A declaration that the inclusion of the four who are members of the opposition is unconstitutional, unlawful, null and void. 3. An order nullifying the nomination for appointments of the nominees as cabinet secretaries, and any order the court may deem fit to grant. Apart from vetting by the National Assembly, Mbadi, Opiyo, Joho and Oparanya will have the first hurdle to surmount at the High Court. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
Well, and away from that, Nyeri Archbishop Anthony Muheria has urged against misusing the opportunity presented by Kenyan youths by filing senior government positions under the guise of inclusivity. He emphasized the importance of integrity, especially following recent cabinet appointments. Gladys Medecha reports on the Archbishop's warning about the potential risk of ignoring the voices of the young population.
Nyeri Catholic Archbishop Anthony Muheria has delivered a stern warning to members of parliament, urging them not to disappoint Kenyans by approving cabinet secretaries whose integrity is questionable.
He would hammer with patience.
Speaking in Nyeri, Archbishop Muheria stressed that the ongoing political turbulence in the country is a direct result of a leadership that lacks integrity.
We as a church are concerned that all Kenyans should re-examine the issue of integrity. And that must be the key also for our parliamentarians in passing the nominees, in examining whether they are fit for an office. That must be a major consideration. Do they display integrity in their life, in their family, in their business, in their talk? Are they persons who honestly I can trust? Are they persons I can trust with my children? Are they persons who will lead us to build unity and enhance our working together? Once we have that, then we can be able to build the blocks going forward.
Archbishop Muheria's comments came days after President William Ruto announced the nomination of key ODM party figures, including Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, nominated Member of Parliament John Mbadi, and the party's deputy leaders Wycliffe Oparanya and Ali Hassan Joho to his newly reconstituted cabinet.
We have inclusive conversations now, and that we open our ears and our hearts to inclusive and constructive ideas. All this country, our country, all of us want the best of our country, and we are challenging our leadership. We are challenging all who are involved, including our young people in the Gen Z and even beyond, that we bring those ideas that have been now crystallized and distilled so that we can now start working towards an inclusive conversation that will have specific action points.
The Archbishop criticized the political class for potentially exploiting the current situation to further their interests under the pretext of a broad-based approach aimed at national inclusivity.
To the leadership, that they must listen truly, and to listen means the issue of integrity, the issue of corruption, and the issue of promises we make must be fulfilled.
After a month of protests by the youth, Muheria's concerns highlight the growing pressure on President Ruto to appoint individuals of high integrity to his cabinet. The Archbishop called for extensive consultations in the appointment process, cautioning against hasty decisions that could hinder the nation's healing process.
Integrity is also hearing not what you want to hear, but hearing what is being said and allowing yourself to be critiqued, criticized, corrected, and suggestions to be made to you. Suggestions that may not be according to your way of thinking, but yes, will help to build this noble and great Kenya that all of us really are longing.
Let's appreciate us.
Gladys Medecha, K24 TV.
Well, thank you, Gladys Medecha, for that report. This is K24 Evening Edition, and we take a short commercial break. I'll see you in a short while. Stay tuned.
Are you a church and seeking to reach an even bigger congregation? K24 TV and Kameme TV are offering you an opportunity to grow your good